I'm Syrian, born and raised in Canada. And like a lot of immigrant parents, I think there was a style of parenting from my dad where he needed to have control and kind of force that control at home, that I'm the man of the house, my way or the highway. And I think as a kid, you grow up, you're defenseless because you're so small. And if your own parents feel like a threat for whatever reason, and it could be different levels, right? Then you become always kind of like vigilant, because you want safety, of course. So if you feel like the parent you're living with could be unpredictable, then you end up always paying it a lot of attention and then overthinking, worried, and then maybe one day you grow up and you find that you have anxiety. And you're not sure why. Well, no wonder why. You were like vigilant for years and that stayed with you. It became a pattern of thinking. And then if you were to unpack the anxiety and look to find what is underneath it, it's probably sadness for the fact that you had to go through this when you probably needed comfort and love. Now, again, my dad did a lot of great things. We traveled together. He loved taking us to hotels over the holidays. It was like his favorite thing. I wish he was more easygoing and compassionate. I wish he was a little bit more open-minded. I did for a long time want to hear those words, like sit down with him and for him to kind of like validate how I felt and admit for some of his faults. And I would be lying if I said it wouldn't feel nice even today to hear some of that. But I don't wait for it. No. I think in a way I have become my own parent for my younger self, for the things that I needed. And then my mom and dad are getting older now, and it's really sad. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm becoming the parent as well for them. But I did take mushrooms in 2020 for magic mushrooms. For those of you that are not familiar with magic mushrooms, if you take them, your ego dies. And what I mean by ego is like your sense of identity. Like, I identify with this and that and that, and those are important for me. Of course, you're still who you are, but you have kind of like a more authentic version of you. In psychology, they call it the self. So that self, unburdened and not attached to too many things, without the ego, I started to have conversations in my head, and somehow the conversations were around my dad. And when I say conversations, I mean like thoughts coming in back and forth, almost like a conversation. And I just thought of him, and I thought of how much older he's become. And he's probably had a lot of suffering in his life. I mean, he had to flee Syria when he was 17. He speaks 5 languages because he was living in Europe, not out of luxury, but out of survival, really. And then he eventually made his way to Canada and got a citizenship. This was like 40 years ago, a long time ago. So life for him wasn't easy, and I started to feel really sad, actually, for him. And I realized he's just a man. He's just a man trying his best. I also realized, actually, this is a separate topic, but how lonely it can be for a man, like it's really hard to feel sorry for a man. And this is coming from a man too, I think nobody really feels sorry for a man until you're like 70 and like you're really old, and then people are like, it's okay. Like the community starts to rally up, I feel like as a woman you can always cry, and then, but as a man it's kind of like you gotta have it together. That was a thought I had, okay? I know, separate topic. But then I cried and I felt a sense of forgiveness because he did his best. And he did probably a better job than his own dad, right? And my dad never got an emotions education. I don't think your parents have either. They're just a product of their time and culture. Today we have the internet, we've got Reddit, TikTok, and we're learning from so many people, and we have access to information. And yeah, sometimes it's actually scary how much access we have, but they did not have that access. We do. So we can't hold them to the same standards. But also on that same trip, little mushroom, I realized how we're all connected. So he did a better job than his dad, and I'm aiming to do a better job than my dad. And then it just like continues. So it's never about him or me. We're just like part of this thing, right? And I think that when you think about it from a point of view that we're all connected, you feel a sense of both compassion and forgiveness. Because how could you not feel compassion for something that you actually are connected to, you know? Even if it's chaotic or bad. A lot of scientific studies show some of the worst people that have done the worst things have probably had some aspects of that happen to them when they were younger. And then trauma passes on. You inflict it. That's what you've learned. So, and of course it's easier to say this when you're not in it and you're not on the receiving end, when you have taken the time and space to actually heal. Yeah, but I do think that if you're going to take anything from this video, it would be step one is, of course, awareness for how you feel, for what you need. And then, if you can, take the time to heal. Offer those things. This is step number 2. Offer those things for yourself. You can do this through therapy. You can do this through journaling, through reading. But you could ask yourself, what parts of myself are upset with my mom or dad? And what do they need or want? Or what letter they wish they had received from them, right? Maybe you can write that letter out, you know? And then step number 3 is kind of like zooming out. And I think that there is wisdom in realizing that they are just a product of their time and culture. And they did their best. And in a way, if you become the parents for your own kid, like you rise above and you see them as children, it becomes easier to want to offer a hug, you know, and just be like, it's okay. Today, I still say, I say I love you to my dad. I have forgiven. What else did I want to say? Today, I do say I love you to my dad, and I have forgiven him for a lot of the things that I wish he had done differently. But, you know, he's still my dad, and I do think that I have a responsibility as well to support him. At the end of the day, he probably did a lot more good than bad. It's just unfortunate that the bad has a lot of impact, and it's something that you remember often. You know what I mean? It overshadows the good. Even though in terms of total action, total influence, there's a lot more good than bad. But it's something to be kind of mindful of. So anyways, this will be the episode for today. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.